What's going on, everybody? Sports Culture, and today I got my final mock draft for the Green Bay Packers. I made a good amount of these, but as we all know, the NFL draft is tomorrow, so today is my final 7-round mock draft for the Green Bay Packers, and I'm excited to make this, man, and I'm excited for the NFL draft tomorrow. Like I said in all my previous mock drafts, this team has Super Bowl ambitions, and if we could go to the NFL draft tomorrow, which is Thursday, and get some rookies that can make some impacts, in the first round, second round, third round, fourth round, whatever it is, this team has a good chance to win the Super Bowl next year in New Orleans. I'm super excited to make this mock draft right here. It is going to be my final one. I'm going to get players that I, really do like and I really want the Packers to go get, but I'm going to keep it realistic. I'm going to go after guys that I think they would really target. I'm not going to make some crazy trade up and, go from pick 25 to pick 9 or anything like that. But I'm going to, make some moves that maybe Brian Gutekunst would make. I'm going to keep it realistic, but I'm also going to go out there and get the players that I really do like as well. So without further ado, let's get right into it. So here we are, pick 25 for the Green Bay Packers, and some players that had went before us. Cooper DeJean at pick 22 to the Eagles, and I definitely think if Cooper DeJean falls to pick 22, the Eagles are selecting him. I definitely think he's locked in for that pick right there if he falls to pick 22. Then Nate Wiggins at pick 23 to the Vikings. So with this pick, I'm going Kool-Aid McKinstry, and this is someone the Green Bay Packers have bought in for a visit. This is someone they have talked to before. They were at his pro day, and I think Kool-Aid McKinstry just fits his defensive scheme super well. When you talk about a man coverage cornerback, Kool-Aid McKinstry is one of the best in this year's draft class at being that. Now, Kool-Aid McKinstry is listed at 6'1", 195 pounds, and is still only 21 years old. He's only going to get better, and he's just a very lengthy cornerback. He has the size and measurements you want from an outside cornerback. His arm length is around 33 inches or 32 inches, so just a very lengthy cornerback. He's a very smart cornerback. He really never gets out of position. He plays the football very well, and I just think he fits his defensive scheme super well. He's very good in island coverage, and I just think him next to Jair Alexander gives us a really good chance to have the two best lockdown cornerbacks in the NFL. Now, here are the pros and cons for Kool-Aid McKinstry. Great balance and fluidity when backpedaling. Good but not great recovery speed. Length is a big plus for press coverage. Hands are quick and precise for disrupting receivers out of press. Nice shoulder dip reaction to time to avoid blocks. Comfortable and confident in island coverage. That's a big thing right there. Does not fall for feet chopping and wide receivers in the releases. Quick to read screens. Now, here are the cons for Kool-Aid McKinstry. Change of direction, ability, and agility are good but not elite for stickiness and coverage when routes are breaking. Likes to be physical, which led to some unnecessary holding and DPI penalties. Long speed is good but not elite. Could stand to be more aggressive when attacking the ball. Now, Kool-Aid McKinstry is the definition of a lockdown cornerback. He's not going to be someone that goes out there and gets you, 5 interceptions in a season, but he's going to be someone that goes out there and locks down a wide receiver 1, locks down a wide receiver 2, and only holds that guy to like 1 catch, 2 catches throughout a game. This year, he allowed 19 receptions on 39 targets, 205 yards, 1 touchdown to 0 interceptions, and a passer rating of 73.1. So for my final mock draft, we are going with Kool-Aid McKinstry, like I said, and I definitely think this is, someone the Packers could target, come Thursday, come draft night, if he's there at pick 25. I think this is someone the Packers are high on. I think this is someone that fits the defensive scheme super well. Maybe not the most willing tackler in the world, but when he decides to tackle, he's very good at doing so. So with this pick at pick 25, in my final mock draft for the Green Bay Packers, I'm going with Kool-Aid McKinstry, the cornerback out of Alabama. So here we are, pick 41. I want to keep this super realistic, man. But Jazon Newton is still on the board at pick 41. There is no way, come draft night, he falls to the second round. I do hear, I think it's smoke screens, but I do hear reports that, maybe some NFL scouts and NFL people are not that high on Jazon Newton. But I think those are total smoke screens. I think he's the best defensive lineman in this year's draft class. And I think he's overall the best defensive player in this year's draft class. And I just simply can't pass on him. I was going to go Javon Bullard right here just to get us a safety. But, man, Jazon Newton's on the board right here. And I cannot pass on Jazon Newton. So, with this pick, I'm going with Jazon Newton. I think he's overall the best defensive player in this year's draft class. I think he's going to be a game wrecker at the next level. This guy is listed at 6'2", 295 pounds. You could say he's undersized for the position. But, man, you won't find another defensive lineman that plays with this much, leverage, has this much, hand usage, has, this much get-off-the-ball ability. Jazon Newton has it all as a defensive lineman. Now, Jazon Newton this year played in 12 games, had 749 defensive snaps, had 402 pass rush snaps, 347 run defense snaps, had 8 sacks, 7 hits, 28 hurries, and 2 batted passes. But the previous year, he had 4 sacks, 19 hits, 36 hurries, and 3 batted passes. So this guy is very disruptive. He gets to the quarterback. He's very chaotic up front. And I think he had like over 24 more pressures than any other defensive lineman in this year's draft class. So just very disruptive, very productive up front. And I think him on this defensive line will just take us to the next step in terms of defense. Now, real quick, I'm going to go over the pros and cons for Johnny Newen. Possesses quick handwork, feet never stop firing, experience and effective stunt slash loop rusher, motor that never stops. That's my favorite thing about him, dude. This guy has an insane motor for a defensive lineman. Explosive first step. And then here are the cons. You can tell he is light, lacks overall flexibility for getting low or bending on a rush. High run defense grade comes more from gap shooting and disengaging blocks than truly holding the line. Top speed is limited in pursuit. So like I said, I picked 41. I was trying to keep this draft super realistic. Do I think Jer'Zhan Newen is going to fall at pick 41 to the Green Bay Packers in real life? Hell no. Do I think he's falling out of the first round? Hell no. I think he's getting selected within the first 32 picks easily. But in this mock draft, man, I'd get roasted in the comments if I didn't take Jer'Zhan Newen here. So with this pick, at pick 41, we are going Jer'Zhan Newen. I don't think this is realistic. I do think he's getting drafted in the first round. I think he's guaranteed to get drafted in the first round. But with this mock draft, he fell to us at pick 41, my final mock draft. And I just can't pass on Jer'Zhan Newen. He's my favorite defensive player overall in this year's draft class. And he's going to be a stud at the next level. And here's that one stat I was talking about. Jer'Zhan Newen, 102 quarterback pressures since 2022. 24 more than the next closest defensive tackle. So this dude is very productive, causes chaos up front, and he's just very elite at getting to the quarterback. So here we are, pick 58, and this is such a great start to my final mock draft. 2 out of our 3 picks so far are going to be guys that I think are number 1 at the position. Jer'Zhan Newen, number 1 at the defensive line position. And then Javon Bullard, who I think is the number 1 safety in this year's draft class. This is a fantastic start to my final mock draft. I think Javon Bullard just fits this defensive scheme super well. He's very physical. He's very gritty. He plays with his hair on fire. And he's the safety, Jeff Hafley was talking about when he had his first press conference with the Green Bay Packers once he first got here. I think he just fits with Xavier McKinney super well. And I know everybody wants to get a box safety with Xavier McKinney, and I think that'd be a great fit with him. But I think Xavier McKinney's best work for the New York Giants also came out of the box. And I think both the guys are very versatile. I think Javon Bullard could play a lot of snaps out of the slot. Obviously, a lot of his snaps back deep because he's a safety. But I just love the versatility that Javon Bullard brings. He is a very good coverage safety. Now, Javon Bullard is listed at 5'11", 195 pounds, and is still only 21 years old. Maybe a little undersized in terms of the safety position, but as it says right here, Bullard is a versatile secondary player with a fearless mentality. Though he isn't an elite athlete, his competitiveness, quickness, and tackling ability project him to be a starting role as a nickel defender. And if you watched any of my previous mock drafts, whenever I take in Javon Bullard, the guy I compare him most to is... And if you watch any of my previous mock drafts, whenever I take in Javon Bullard, the safety I always compare Javon Bullard to, or the player I compare Javon Bullard the most to, is Brian Branch, the safety for the Detroit Lions. Now, here are the pros and cons for Javon Bullard. Experienced and successful slot defender. This guy, before switching to safety, was a cornerback, so that's why he's so good in coverage and could just read route concepts and just read the football field very well. Fearless tackler for his size. This guy's very physical and gritty. And when he comes downhill and he hits you, he makes you feel it. A fiery competitor who does not back down from any assignment. Now, here are the cons for Javon Bullard. Recovery speed is good, but not elite. Over-aggressive pursuit angles cause him to be out of control at times. Much more comfortable playing in the slot than coming from depth. Now, Javon Bullard had some very elite stats this year. He had a 26.9 force incompletion rate, and that's a very elite stat for a safety. And he had a passer rating allowed of 34.0, just very elite. 0 touchdowns to 2 interceptions, 14 receptions to 26 targets, and 7 forced incompletions, 5 run stops, and 8 cover stops. This year, he had played in 12 games, had 596 defensive snaps, 267 run defense snaps, 329 cover snaps, had 45 tackles, 13 assisted tackles, and 7 missed. And Javon Bullard is a very versatile player in the secondary. This dude played 144 snaps this year at the slot, 80 in the box, and 362 back deep. But in the previous year, 510 snaps in the slot, 62 in the box, and then 12 back deep. So I picked 58, man. I really couldn't ask for a better start. Like I said, 2 out of our 3 first picks are guys that I think are number 1 at the position in Javon Bullard and Jer'Zhan Newen. And I just think Javon Bullard just fits his defensive scheme super well. This is a guy who I think matches up very well to Xavier McKinney. Javon Bullard, like I said, maybe won't get you all the picks in the world, maybe not all the pass breakups in the world, but one thing he will do is lock up the side of his field that he's assigned to. So with this pick at pick 58, we couldn't ask for a better start for my final mock draft. We are going with Javon Bullard, the safety out of Georgia. So I traded back just a couple spots with the Kansas City Chiefs. We're going from pick 88 to pick 95 and also picking up 131. And the reason I'm doing this is because there's 3 offensive linemen that I really do like in this spot right here. But, from pick 88 to pick 91, I doubt all the guys will get selected. And I doubt maybe even 2 of them will get selected. So I think at pick 91, we can select one of those guys. And then pick another one of those guys at pick 95 while picking up another pick in draft capital. So here we are, pick 91, and all the offensive linemen I was talking about are still on the board. And with this pick, I'm leaning between Cooper Beebe and Mason McCormick. But I think I'm going to go Cooper Beebe because of the age. I think he's 1 year younger. I think he's around 22, 23. While Mason McCormick's around 24. So there is a year gap between these guys. I do think Mason McCormick has a higher ceiling. He is better athletically. But I do like Cooper Beebe more as a pass blocker. I think he's more fundamentally sound in his hand placement. I think he plays with better leverage. I think Mason McCormick is a better molar in the run game. But I think Cooper Beebe is just super fundamentally sound. Now, Cooper Beebe is listed at 6'4", 335 pounds, and is 22 years old. He has a great height and frame for the guard position and just an interior offensive lineman in general. And as says right here, Beebe brings experience and versatility from Kansas State career with 48 starts combined at left guard, left tackle, right tackle. He is built well for the interior with a thick lower body, upper body, and midsection. His trump card is his football IQ. Now, here are the pros and cons real quick for Cooper Beebe. Brings a high football IQ and displays great understanding of angles, leverage, and timing. Versatile lineman with experience at all three spots on the line. Hands are well placed and effective. Can effectively move defenders when he maintains good pad level / leverage. Good size and technique to anchor straight bull rushers. Now, here are the cons real quick for Cooper Beebe. Below average athlete. Lets defenders get across his face too easily and struggles to recover. Feet are heavy to recover versus twitcher pass rushers. Slow off the ball. Doesn't convert speed to power consistently. Now, Cooper Beebe played in 13 games this year, had 942 offensive snaps, 486 run block snaps, 456 pass block snaps, allowed 2 sacks, 0 hits, and 7 hurries. But in the previous year, he allowed 0 sacks, 2 hits, and 7 hurries. Now, Cooper Beebe is the definition of a Packers pick. This guy is very, very versatile. At the collegiate level, he played at tackle and left guard. This year, he played 819 snaps at left guard, while also playing 103 snaps at right tackle. But in 2021, this man played 734 snaps at left tackle, so very versatile. Play left guard, and left tackle at the collegiate career. So here we are, pick 95, and with this pick, I just want to get more offensive line depth, and I think this guy is more of a project player, and that is Dominic Pooney, the tackle out of Kansas. Yes, he doesn't have the greatest, hand placement on a play-to-play basis, doesn't play with the best leverage, but this guy has all the athletic tools you want from a tackle / guard. He has all the power in the world. He just needs to be developed and redefine his tools. Now, Dominic Pooney is listed at 6'5", 320 pounds. He's in the height and weight that Green Bay Packers love from the tackle position, and he's still very young at 22 years old. Now, here are the pros and cons for Dominic Pooney. Massive player who is tough to get around for his size alone. Has the power to displace people when he gets them between the shoulders. And here are the cons for Dominic Pooney. Poor pad level in 2022, but improved in 2023. Might be a hindrance at guard. Upright stance after the snaps exposed his chest and makes him too easy to manipulate. Top heavy in the weight, but played with flatter back in 2023. Does not maintain blocks on tape. Now, Dominic Pooney this year played in 12 games, had 745 offensive snaps, 401 run block snaps, 342 pass block snaps, allowed 0 sacks, 0 hits, and 8 hurries. Now, Dominic Pooney does offer versatility. In 2022, he played 848 snaps at left guard, and then this past year, he played at left tackle. So at pick 95, we are going Dominic Pooney, the tackle out of Kansas, and he doesn't have to be a starter for us by any means. I think Rasheed Walker and Zach Tom are going to be the starters at the tackle position for many, many years, and they are going to be the franchise tackles for many, many years. But with this pick, we're going to go Dominic Pooney. He is more of a project player, but he could be somebody that develops on our bench and can maybe be good, and we could trade him later on, or he could just be a dead piece for many, many years. So here we are, 126, and we're going to go for a little bit of a reach. We have yet to get a linebacker, and that is okay because I really do like Cedric Gray a lot, the linebacker out of North Carolina. This guy is very instinctive. He's a ball hawk. He's always around the football. Maybe not the greatest at wrapping up on a play-to-play basis, but I do think at the next level he will work on that. He's just silent, a sideline, very athletic, has the size you want from a linebacker. And I think next to Quay Walker, he could be a very good linebacker. Now, Cedric Gray is 6'2", 235 pounds, has the height and weight you want from a linebacker, and is still only 21 years old. He's only going to get better. This year, Cedric Gray had a 62.7 run defense grade. I do feel like he's way better than that PFF run defense grade, but the reason, that is kind of low is because the missed tackle rate. But this year, he had a 78.0 coverage grade, had a 3.1 average depth of run tackle, and had a 14.6 missed tackle rate. This year, played in 12 games, had 880 defensive snaps, 100 pass rush snaps, 401 run defense snaps, 379 coverage snaps, also having 80 tackles, 31 assisted tackles, and 19 missed tackles. Now, 126, we are going Cedric Gray, and I do think this guy next to Quay Walker could be a very good linebacker. This guy is very instinctive. He's a great athlete. He has the size and length you want from a linebacker. He's silent on the sideline. He's a ball hawk. He's always around the football. Maybe not the greatest at tackling and wrapping up on a play-to-play basis, but he's always to the ball and he's always around it. So with this pick at 126, we are going Cedric Gray. And I think him next to Quay Walker could be a very solid linebacker duo. So here we are, pick 131. And with this pick, I am going to get a running back for this team. That is Will Shipley, the running back out of Clemson. And he's a running back I have not mocked in any of my mocks yet, but I do think he complements Josh Jacobs and A.J. Dillon very, very well. Will Shipley is not the most, dynamic athlete or most explosive, guy with the ball in his hands by any means, but he's a really good receiving back, has really good hands. And I know Josh Jacobs wants to be more of a receiving back next year, and I do think Josh Jacobs can definitely do that, but Josh Jacobs is definitely stiff when running routes out the backfield, and he's not the most explosive when running routes out the backfield. Now, Will Shipley is listed at 5'11", 205 pounds, and is 21 years old. He's very, very young and has a lot of time to develop. Now, here are the pros and cons for Will Shipley. 40 targets in each of the past 2 seasons speaks to how natural he is as a receiver. Footwork is quick and precise, which makes for smooth yet explosive cuts. Very nice balance for contact. Long speed is adequate, and his short burst is even better. And then here are the cons for Will Shipley. Willing pass blocker, but doesn't have the necessary weight to be reliable. Has good balance and body control, but lacks the strength to bounce off tackles. Now, Will Shipley this year played in 12 games, had 167 attempts, 840 yards, 5 yards per attempt, 5 touchdowns, 31 receptions on 38 targets, and 231 receiving yards. But in 2022, Will Shipley had 211 attempts, 1,171 yards, 5.5 yards per attempt, 15 touchdowns, 37 receptions to 42 targets, and 237 receiving yards. So in 2022, Will Shipley was very dominant, and he was very good and very versatile as a dual threat running back, very good in the receiving game, and very good when running the football, having a 5.5 yards per attempt in 2022, 15 touchdowns, 37 receptions on 42 targets, and 237 yards is very elite as a running back. So I picked 131 right here. We are going Will Shipley, and he is a guy I've yet to draft in any of my mock drafts. I do think he is very underrated in terms of running backs in this year's draft class. His skill set matches very well for NFL offenses at the next level, and I do think he matches very well with guys like Josh Jacobs and A.J. Dillon. So with this pick, we are going Will Shipley, the running back out of Clemson. So here we are, pick 169, and Katan Oladapo has been going up the draft boards more and more. So with this pick, I am going to get Katan Oladapo. I know I got Javon Bullitt earlier, but Katan Oladapo, man, is such an underrated player, and I think he's going to be the steal of the draft. This guy is a jack of all trades at the safety position. He can blitz, he can cover, he can tackle very well in open space, and he's a very athletic safety as well. He has the height and measurements you want from a safety, and I really don't understand how he doesn't have that much buzz under his name. When I watched the film, man, I was blown away because I thought this guy was a top 10 safety easily in this year's draft class. Now, Katan Oladapo is listed at 6'1", 217 pounds, and is 23 years old. He is an older prospect, but it doesn't matter because we drafted a guy like Javon Bullitt, who is going to be the starting safety with Xavier McKinney for many, many years, and Katan Oladapo is just going to be depth. Now, Katan Oladapo this year had an 84.4 coverage grade, had a 91.3 run defense grade. Like I said, this guy is very good at tackling, had a 12.1 missed tackle rate, had a 19.4 forced completion rate, which is very elite. And this year played in 13 games, had 789 defensive snaps, 36 pass rush snaps, 315 run defense snaps, 438 cover snaps, 63 tackles, 17 assisted tackles, and 11 missed tackles. This year, Katan Oladapo had 10 coverage stops, 13 run stops, 21 receptions on 36 targets, a 61.3 passer rating allowed, 1 touchdown to 2 interceptions, and 7 forced incompletions. And the reason I like Katan Oladapo the most, and the reason I call him a jack of all trades, is because this guy can line up anywhere in the secondary. This year, he had 278 snaps in the slot. He even had 26 snaps on the D-line, 19 at corner, 292 in the box, and 174 back deep. So on 169, we are going Katan Oladapo, the safety at Oregon State, and I think when it's said and done from this year's draft class, he will be the steal of the draft. So here we are, pick 202, and with this pick, we're going to go with the guy the Packers have talked to before, and that is Christian Boyd, the defensive lineman out of Northern Iowa. This guy is very good against the quarterback, did play against lower competition, but he could be a very good depth piece for this team. I know I drafted Jerzon Newman with my second pick in this mock draft, but it doesn't hurt to add another guy into the room, and Christian Boyd is a guy the Packers have talked to before. Now, Christian Boyd is listed at 6'4", 317 pounds, and is 24 years old, and he is very athletic for that 6'4", 317 pound frame. Now, Christian Boyd this year had an 89.4 pass rush grade, had an 83.9 run defense grade, had an 87.6 true pass set pass rush grade, had a 16.4 pass rush win rate, and had a 7.8 run stop rate. Boyd this year played in 11 games, had 631 defensive snaps, 365 pass rush snaps, 266 run defense snaps, 3 sacks, 9 hits, and 28 hurries, and 1 batted pass. Now, Christian Boyd has the versatility to line up over the A gap and the B gap. He's very quick off the line. Maybe doesn't have all the length in the world. He is 6'4" and 317 pounds, but his arm length is very short for the position. But I do think at the next level, he could be a very good rotational piece for defensive line group. Now, Christian Boyd does get mocked 15% by Packers fans whenever they create mock drafts. So for my final mock draft right here, we are going Christian Boyd. This is a guy the Packers have talked to before. I do think this guy is fairly underrated. Yes, he did play against the lower competition on a play-to-play basis, but I do think on film he was fairly dominant, and that's what you want to see. So here we are, 219, and I'm going to make it really short. Brian Gutekunst does want to bring in another quarterback in this year's draft class. So with this pick, I'm going to go Joe Milton, the quarterback out of Tennessee. This guy is definitely a project player, but if we could develop him just a little bit, he could definitely get traded, down the line for some picks. So here we are at 245, and with this pick, I just want to get more depth at the linebacker position, and that is Dallas Gant, the linebacker out of Toledo. This guy was very productive at Toledo. Didn't play against the best competition on a play-to-play basis, but I do think on film he's fairly athletic, very instinctive, is a ball hawk. Like I said, didn't play against the best competition, so take it with a grain of salt, but he was very productive at Toledo. Now, Dallas Gant has the size you want from a linebacker at 6'3", 230 pounds, and is 23 years old. And Dallas Gant this year had an 87.2 run defense grade, had an 83.0 coverage grade, had an average depth of run tackle of 2.5. That is very elite and good to see. And had a missed tackle rate of 6.3. Very elite. Like I said, Dallas Gant was very, very productive at Toledo this year. He had 88 tackles, 32 assisted tackles, and only 8 missed tackles. So very, very elite in terms of linebackers. And this year, Dallas Gant had 22 coverage stops, 36 run stops, 24 receptions on 31 targets, a 77.4 completion percentage, 0 touchdowns to 1 interception, 1 forced incompletion, and a 75.3 passer rating allowed. So at 245, we are going Dallas Gant, and he doesn't have to be a starter for us by any means, but this guy could just be a good depth piece for us, and I do think we need to add at least 2 linebackers in this year's draft class. So at 255, my final pick in this mock draft and my final mock draft for the Green Bay Packers, I'm just going to go center and just more offensive line depth for the Green Bay Packers, and that is Drake Nugent, the center out of Michigan. I like to grab these Michigan guys in the later rounds, especially because these guys won the championship game last year in the collegiate level, but not just that, they played against some of the best competition down the stretch. So with this pick, we are going to Drake Nugent, the center out of Michigan. So here's what PFF has graded my mock draft, and I'm just going to go over it very fastly. And right off the bat, they said I should have drafted Latu over Cooley McKinstry. So don't really take anything PFF really grades too seriously. Cooley McKinstry was a B-. I think Cooley McKinstry fits this defensive scheme super, super well. Next pick, we did go Jazon Nguyen. He's on PFF big board at 11. We got him at pick 41. I didn't want to pick him because I feel like this is super unrealistic and this won't happen in real life. But man, I would have got flamed in the comments if I didn't have selected Jazon Nguyen. We got an A+ for that pickup right there. I think that's a phenomenal grade and pickup right there. 58, we did go Javon Bullard. He's my number 1 safety in this year's draft class. Got an A right there. I think Javon Bullard next to Xavier McKinney is going to be one of the best coverage safety duos in the NFL. Pick 91, we did go Cooper Beebe. Got a B+ right there. Cooper Beebe could play anywhere on the offensive line. He just feels like a Green Bay Packer pick. Then at the next pick, at 95, we did go Dominic Pooney. Another type of Packer pick. Very versatile offensive lineman. More of a project player. But Rasheed Walker and Zach Tom are going to be the franchise tackles anyway, so he could just develop behind those guys. Next pick was Cedric Gray. We did need to get a linebacker. We did reach for him. I do think Cedric Gray is way better than this D+ grade right here. Like I said, I think Cedric Gray is very athletic. He has the size you want from a linebacker. He's solid on the sideline. He's very instinctive. Always around the football. Maybe not the greatest at tackling and wrapping up on a play-to-play basis, but I do think at the next level he will work on that. And next to a guy like Quay Walker, I think Cedric Gray and Quay Walker could be a very good, scary linebacker duo in the NFL. Next pick was Will Shipley. I've never picked Will Shipley in any of my mock drafts, but I just love the idea of adding an elite, running back, receiving back. I mean, like a guy like Will Shipley or Ray Davis in this year's, draft class with guys like Josh Jacobs and A.J. Dillon. With that pick, we did get a C-. I just think Will Shipley in this running back room with guys like Josh Jacobs and A.J. Dillon matches very, very well. Then at 169, we did go Katan Oladapo, the safety at Oregon State. This guy right here is going to be the steal of the draft, especially if he falls past 170, 180. I just think this guy is too good to be falling that far down the line. In my opinion, he's a top 10 safety, and he's a jack of all trades. Got a B+ right there. Phenomenal grade and good pickup. Then at 202, we went Christian Boyd, and this is a guy the Packers I've talked to before. Did play against lower competition, but he was fairly dominant on film. Got a B- right there. He's going to be a good rotational piece for this defensive line. Then at 219, we did go Joe Milton, And Brian Gutekunst has talked about how he wants to bring in another quarterback from this year's draft class. So we went out there and got Joe Milton, who definitely has all the traits you want from a franchise quarterback, but is raw and does need to be developed. Then at 245, we did go Dallas Scant, and this guy has the height and length you want from a linebacker. Was very productive at Toledo, but did play at Toledo, which doesn't play the best competition week in and week out. Got a C plus right there. He's just very good depth, and if not, going to be a special teamer for this team. Last pick, we did go Drake Nugent. Got a C plus right there. The overall grade for this draft was a A minus. Won the top 34% of Packers draft classes. The first four to five picks right here are dynamic. I think all these guys make an impact. Cooper Beebe and Dominic Puni maybe don't start or get any starting snaps, but they could come in if guys get hurt, and I think they will both play to that standard. If I had to bang on any of these guys getting selected, I'd say the three would be Kool-Aid McKinstry, Javon Bullard, and Cooper Beebe. But let me know what you guys think about this mock draft. I think Kool-Aid McKinstry, Jer'Zhan Newton, and Javon Bullard, those three guys right there, make a huge impact to our defense and finally get us over that hedge. Like I said, let me know what you guys think in the comments. This is my final mock draft for the Green Bay Packers. I'm out.